Oh, hey, hey, guys, how y'all doing? Man, it's good to see you. I hope y'all are doing good. Boy, it's been nice weather this week. It's been warm this week. Very, very nice. I hope spring is on the way. Well, I got a couple of good books today. We're going to read about Thomas and the Big, Big Bridge. And then we may read, What Do You Say, Dear? When I was a little bitty boy, about your age, I used to get books in the mail. My grandmother joined a book club for me, and I used to get these books, and this is one of the books that I got when I was a little kid. Not this exact book, but it was one just like it, but that was a long time ago. Well, let's get something. Wait a minute. Let me see who's here. Oh, let's see. I had to get a new lamp. I had to get a new looker because my old one broke. It still works, I can see, but the light don't work. Let's see who's here today. Oh, whoa, hey, Freddie and Ethan, Christian and Josh, Rehan, and let's see. Is that Ramy? Remy, yeah, John. And there's old Libby. Hello, Libby. And Roshan. Hey, buddy. And Caleb. And there is Tilly. Oh, wow. Man, it's great to see y'all today. I am glad y'all are here. Y'all like Thomas the Train? I used to read Thomas to little Caleb when he was little, and his nanny would read to him all the time. We like Thomas the Train. And so we'll read the story about Thomas and the Big, Big Bridge. You know, we have to wear a mask a lot of times. You have to wear the mask while you're out. But hopefully, one of these days, before too awfully long, we won't have to wear the mask anymore. And maybe I can come read to y'all in person. That would be a great day, and I am looking forward to coming and seeing you in person. But until then, we will read over the computer, okay? All right, let's look here. Let me get some light on the subject so I can see what I'm saying. Fix this light here. There we go. That'll help that a good bit. All right, let's see. It was a special day for the railway. We are here to launch a new rail line through the mountains of Sodor. Sir Topham Hatt announced. Today, we opened the Big, Big Bridge. What wonderful news! Yay! Everybody cheered. The mountains were beautiful, and the people of Sodor couldn't wait to visit them. Here are the trains, and here are the people of Sodor, and they're waiting to visit the mountains, but they can't get there because they don't have a bridge. But they've been working, and now they have a bridge. Everyone wanted to see the big bridge. It had towers so high the tops touched the sky. And the valley beneath was so deep that when you looked down in that big, big bridge, you could barely see the ground. Thomas was excited about the new rail line. It really is a special day, he said happily. Then Henry chugged up to Thomas. The big engine frowned. Uh-oh, Henry wasn't happy. Maybe Henry knows something that Thomas doesn't know. Let's see. I don't want to go to the mountains, Henry said nervously. It's windy up there, and it's very, very windy. Henry didn't like the wind. Henry didn't like the rain or the snow or the hail either. You're such a big engine, Henry, Thomas said. You shouldn't be afraid of a little wind. But Henry was afraid, and that made Thomas a bit afraid too, because Henry was afraid. Now Thomas is beginning to get scared. Gordon, Henry, Thomas, hitch up your coaches, said Sir Topham Hatt. It's time for you, for your first trip to the mountains. Percy and James were glad they didn't have to go to the mountains. They were afraid to cross the big, big bridge too. Oh, it was a new bridge, and they were afraid to cross it. There's nothing to be afraid of, Thomas insisted, in a voice loud enough for Percy and James to hear. It will be easy to cross the big bridge. But they were afraid of the big bridge because they had never crossed it before, and it was new. And sometimes we're afraid to do new stuff, but it's a lot of fun. You know, sometimes my mom and dad might tell you, said, you need to eat this, and you think, I don't want to eat that. Hey, it might be good, and you might love it, and they're going to fix it for you, and you ought to try new stuff. But Percy and Thomas were afraid to go across the big bridge. Well, Thomas wasn't. Thomas and Henry chugged to the platform. Gordon, the express engine, was already there. His coaches were full of passengers. Annie and Clarabelle were soon hitched behind Thomas. Hurry, hurry, they called. All aboard, cried the conductor. Everybody got on board. Sir Topham Hatt turned to the crowd and waved his hat one last time. Toot, toot, Gordon whistled. Follow me! In a burst of steam, the big blue engine was off and on his way to the big bridge. Soon the trains were rolling through the countryside in a long line. Gordon took the lead. Behind him tugged Henry. Then, because he was the smallest, came Thomas. All along the way, people came out of their houses and cheered and waved when they saw the train go by. Yay! Yay! They are so happy to see the train is finally going to the mountains. At the foot of the mountain, Henry slowed to a crawl. These mountains are much too high, he moaned. I can't go. I'm afraid of heights. Don't be silly, Thomas said bravely. I'll be right behind you. But Henry didn't budge. He was very nervous, and it made Thomas nervous too. And so they waited, and they waited, and they waited. Come on, Thomas gently pushed Henry. We have to go. The brand new tracks were smooth and shiny, but Henry barely moved along them. The truth was, Henry didn't want to cross the bridge to the top of the mountain. Wait a minute, let's let the cuckoo clock stop. The truth was, Henry didn't want to reach the top of the mountain because he'd have to cross the big bridge. If Percy and James and Henry are afraid, thought Thomas, maybe I should be afraid too. Just because somebody else is afraid doesn't mean that you have to be afraid too. But Thomas thought, well, maybe because they're afraid, maybe I need to be afraid too. But no, hey, they took a lot of care to build that bridge. Look what happened. The tracks grew steep as Thomas and Henry puffed up the mountain. They could hardly keep up with Gordon. The big blue engine rushed ahead. Gordon was a strong engine. The steep tracks didn't tire him at all. Wait for us, Henry called, but Gordon climbed higher and higher until he was out of sight. Gordon is really moving along, and Gordon is not afraid of that big blue bridge or that big new bridge or of the mountain. Gordon is going on up that mountain. I don't think I can make it, Henry groaned, his steam giving out at last. Oh, this mountain is too steep. Keep going, Thomas urged him. We can't let a little mountain stop us. But Thomas was having trouble chugging up the steep mountain too, and he was beginning to worry about crossing the big bridge. They're still thinking about that bridge, and here they come. Finally, Thomas and Henry arrived at the top of the mountain. There was the big bridge, and it was high, and it was windy up there too, very windy. They're up there and that wind was blowing and they were afraid. And Henry said, I won't go. But we have to cross, Thomas said bravely. Our passengers want to see the mountains on the other side. Hurry, hurry. Anne and Clarabelle cried. The coaches were so excited that Thomas had trouble keeping them in line. They were so excited they wanted to see it. And Thomas said, look, y'all got to calm down. Thomas searched the tracks ahead. Gordon was nowhere to be seen. He had already crossed the bridge and rolled into the mountains beyond. Thomas and Henry were alone. I'll go first, Thomas said at last. Then you come and follow me. If the wind blows, close your eyes, Henry said. That way you won't see anything scary. Sometimes it helps to close your eyes. So Thomas started across the tracks. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Thomas started across the track. Thomas looked up. He could see the cottony clouds touching the top of the bridge. Nervously, he looked down, but the bridge was so high, he couldn't see the ground. A gust of wind shook the bridge. It scared Thomas, and he closed his eyes so tightly that he couldn't see where he was going. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, click-crash! Thomas came to a sudden stop. He opened one eye for a quick look. Uh-oh, he cried. His wheels were off the track. He had gotten off track. He needs help. Are you all right, Thomas? Cried Henry. I'm stuck, Thomas said glumly. I couldn't see where I was going and my front wheels have jumped the track. Just then Gordon returned. He frowned when he saw Thomas stuck in the middle of the bridge. Oh, come on, Thomas. Go ahead. Harold, Gordon called to Henry. Relieved, Henry backed down the mountain to find the helicopter. Thomas, he said go find Harold. I'm sorry. Go find Harold, Thomas called to Henry. Relieved, Henry backed down the mountain to find the helicopter. Thomas kept his eyes closed. He was scared. He was too afraid to look. But inside the coaches, the passengers enjoyed the wonderful view. They were stopped on that high bridge, and they enjoyed being able to look off and see all of the sights that they could see. It's like Rock City. You see a lot of stuff while you're up there. Thomas is stuck. Finally, Thomas heard the whirl of the rotors. Harold was here to rescue him. The helicopter is coming. Slowly, Thomas opened his eyes. He looked at the blue sky above and the green mountains all around. What a lovely view, he exclaimed. I was silly to shut my eyes. Why, I almost missed everything. Hitch the rope to your bumper and hold on, Harold cried. In no time at all, Harold had lifted Thomas back onto the track. Thomas backed up to where Henry waited. Come on, Henry, said Thomas. The view is spectacular. I should never have been afraid. And with that, Thomas turned and chugged happily across the big bridge. Henry watched in wonder. If he's not afraid, maybe I shouldn't be afraid either, Henry decided. Slowly, the big green engine made his way across the bridge, too. And there they were, all happy as they looked at the view. Soon Thomas and Henry arrived at the station house. The mountains were really lovely. Everybody was happy to see them. But Thomas was the happiest of all. He was proud that he had crossed the big bridge. Thomas was afraid to do it, but when he finally did it, he said, this wasn't bad at all. I'm glad I did it. Sometimes you have to overcome your fear and do things. Sometimes the teacher says, I want you to get up and talk to the class and tell us what you did this weekend. And you're scared to get up there, but just get on up there and tell them about it. And get up there and tell them. Now, this book here, we'll just touch on a few things here, but it's What Do You Say, Dear? Now, this is a book about etiquette. I know. Etiquette. What in the world is etiquette? Well, etiquette is basically being nice. And being nice to other people, and being a nice, pleasant person. How many of y'all, boys and girls, how many of y'all want to be a nice, pleasant person? I do. I want to be. I try my best, but, that's how it goes. Hey, wave at me. Everybody wave. Come on. Hey. I want to be a nice, pleasant person. All right. Well, here's some things that happen. He said, you're downtown, and there is a gentleman giving away baby elephants to people. You want to take one home because you've always wanted a baby elephant. But first, the gentleman introduces you to each one. What do you say? So the question is, what do you say when you're meeting a baby elephant? You say, let me show you this. How do you do? You be very nice. When you're meeting somebody, what should you say? How do you do? Be very nice. That's etiquette right there. Etiquette. Let's everybody say etiquette. You ready? Etiquette. There you go. All right. You're picking dandelions and columbines outside the castle. Suddenly a fierce dragon appears and blows red smoke at you. But just then a brave knight gallops up and cuts the dragon's head off and saves you. What do you say? It says, what do you say, dear? What do you say? You say, thank you very much. When somebody does something nice for you, you say, thank you very much. Can y'all say that? Let's say it together. Ready? Thank you very much. Say it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. When your mama brings you some tea or a cold drink or some milk or fixes you something, what do you say? Thank you very much. That is etiquette. Etiquette. That's what it is. Etiquette. Uh-oh. You're a cowboy. You're riding the range. Suddenly, Bad-Nosed Bill comes up behind you with a gun. He said, would you like me to shoot a hole in your head? There's Bad-Nosed Bill, and he comes up behind you, and he says, do you want me to shoot a hole in your head? What do you say? No, thank you. When you don't want it, I don't want nobody shooting me in the head. Hey, you're a nurse. And as you've been a nurse, you rush in to see a patient because a dinosaur bit him. You bandage him all up. You bandage the patient up. And he says, oh, nurse, you have saved my life. What do you say, dear? You say, you're welcome. He says, thank you. And you say, you're welcome. So if somebody tells you and says, thank you, what do you say? You're welcome. That's right. You've gone downtown to do some shopping. You back up on the street because that's what you like to do. And when you back up, you stumble into an alligator with a top hat. What do you say? Well, what in the world do you say when you're downtown and you stumble into an alligator? Excuse me. Pretty simple, isn't it? You just say, excuse me. If you run into somebody or you knock something off or you bump into somebody, what do you say? Excuse me. You didn't mean to do it. Here you are at a party, and you're at a wedding party, and somebody cuts a piece of cake, and they give you a piece of cake. Oh, it's a pretty piece of cake. It's one of those pieces of cake that it's on the end, so it has icing on the side and icing on the top. And if you're real lucky, you get a piece of cake that's on the corner, which has icing on the side and icing on the side and icing on the top. That's the best part. So somebody brings you a piece of cake. What do you say? you say, thank you very much. Again, you say thank you. You're a princess, and you're at the ball, and somebody's trying to talk to you, and they're trying to tell you stuff, and you can't hear because the band is playing, and they're playing too loud, and they're playing so loud that you can't hear what anybody's saying. What do? You say, I beg your pardon, excuse me, I couldn't hear you, and you tell them, hey, look, I'm sorry. All the noise was going on, and I couldn't hear. You go to London. That's a big city in England. You go to London to see the Queen. She says, "Oh, you must stay for dinner. We're having spaghetti." So you stay for dinner, and you have spaghetti as an appetizer, and spaghetti is the main dish, and spaghetti is the salad, and spaghetti for dessert. And by the time the Queen's Guard brings the spaghetti for dessert, you can't fit in your chair anymore, and you want to leave because you can't eat anymore. You're full. What do you say? May I be excused, please? And you ask to leave the table. I think there might be one more here. Let's see what we got. Yep, we got one more. You're flying around in your airplane, and you remember that the Duchess said, do drop in for tea sometime. So you do, only your airplane makes a rather large hole in her roof. She said to drop in sometime, but what she meant was knock on the door. But you flew your airplane right through the roof. What do you say? I'm sorry. All that stuff is etiquette. Well, boys and girls, I'm glad I was able to be with you today. I dropped my book here. I hope you liked the story of Thomas and the big bridge. And what do you do, dear? Well, I hope you have a great rest of the week. I hope you have a great weekend. And I will see you next week. God bless you. Goodbye. Everybody wave. Come on, wave. Bye. See you later. Have a great weekend, guys.